Stories are not involved in a manual. This is a manual that needs to be included in stories. Because without stories, you don't know what it is and what it is behind me. And here's what's visible behind me is only for us. There is no company in the world who has summarized this technology and says they are good, so they could have access. It is quite difficult to lead this topic, because many people think of this wave gel story, which is not the basis of course, but all the story started to be wavy. Professor Pyotr Petrovich Garyaev had a speech, and a speech that applies to quantum physics. Our DNA structure, can be described with quantum physics, no matter anything else in our world, anything else, not just the explicit DNA, anything. And he said this wave was genetics. It was picked up and disassembled, so it was disrupted, copied, and misinterpreted that it could not be said. But I have been dealing with this on a daily basis for 3 years. And what this NPIC modulator is behind me, so that's what today's video is. I'll show you how it works. So a guide to how to use it and why and how, I can recommend this video. No description. Some of you asked for something to be printed. Nothing is printed, guys. This technology is constantly evolving, nothing is printed. By the time we print it, we've come to new things. So this is not possible to keep this fresh. So videos will be made, and in the future the videos may be made in the future. Now this is in Hungarian. I want to jump to the beginning of the story. For 3 years, I was very interested in the story of actually Pyotr Petrovich to think of what happened. We will probably never know the truth. However, yes, that the official wave genetic websites are currently called the official. Very much of total scam, fraud, shammy. And worse, you don't get what you want. And I don't want to give you tips here. The fact that the ELTI wave is a genetic website, as Garyaev died, has completely changed. And a completely different team took their place. And they didn't want to give you the Garyaev Wavegenetics device to use it. This could only be used by Garyaev at the Wavegenetic Institute, as well as the Garyaev capsule, which is only on Miskolc, at the Miskolc Bioinformatics Clinic, which I built my company. You may not care about the story itself, but it's good to know that behind you that actually works. It was the result of a speech. He was a professor of biological science in a program, specifically at the Moscow Pedagogical Conference, our DNA. It can also be translated into wave information, that is, quantum physics effects, quantum physics, and I try to clarify the picture, trying to see clearly. Very difficult. Because the previously mentioned websites, and I don't want to mention them because you find more of it. ELTI information is falsified. ELTI documents are falsified. It is that animal photos are falsified, I don't know. But the fact is that after Garyaev died, neither documents nor websites looked like this. And I have many years of research work to gain access to the life documents and to talk to the people who are still alive. The story begins with consciousness, with human consciousness. Or we can say that with the awareness of what we are in, because don't think that this is what you see now and you perceive it is not consciousness. But that's the consciousness. No matter how terrible and fantastic it sounds. Two at the same time. What you believe in physical reality is nothing more than consciousness. It is controlled by very, very high global intelligence. This is the principle. This can be called a torsion space, a torsion field. Call me Akasha and what you want. And even God. This is not a God faith, not a God faith video, it will still be a manual, believe me, because I have to tell you that. Anyway. Supplement. Garyaev's wave genetics is brilliant. And what makes these sound matrices brilliant? Well, by listening to it and you get better. Roland rolled over the medicine, I know. There are such viewers. Then I would recommend case descriptions in the Facebook group, and I don't want to carry the name of the Wave Gab, I'd rather carry the ZenPeak brand name, by itself, without a device, so there is no coil, there is no water, there is no device, there is nothing, only the sounds were listened to. For example, a story in Chopron. The lady got hypoxia, she didn't get oxygen, she couldn't sleep all the The nervous system and the femoremetics had to be used to make it possible to sleep for hours and not fall. So it's a fantastic result. I apologize, but the doctors could not help with the medicines. Naturalists couldn't help, and from here, this solution remained. Unfortunately, they could not buy a device, but they were able to use them and helped. In many cases, the nervous system matrix has produced amazingly good results for different nervous system problems. These matrices, how do these sounds work? They work without your disease, that you have a particular type of disease and what the name is, because you don't care. Rather, it is interesting to target a healthy condition. The purpose of this wavy gymnastics concept is not the purpose of this. That we say there are thousands of types of illnesses, and now, which is good for that type. Beef is simple, in which you can categorize and group it. So you can see on the website that there are 20-1 different types of bone systems, nervous systems, digestion, carcass. Now I don't want to list them all, and if you might have heart problems, so say high blood pressure, for example. Heart valve, confusion, you should use an ASO-matrix if the problem is very specific. So you say, let's say leukemia. Then I could still suggest the cancer matrices and listen to how. The individual matrix would be much more effective, which is only made for you. How the individual matrices are made, then let's start here. Individual sound matrices are made and try to put it relatively quickly, and simply because the video is still long. So they are made by a photo as a documentation, so you have to fill out documentation what problems are. And what do you expect? What do you want? Why make matrix for you? If the photo comes in, a photo of a healthy condition should be attached. It can be a black and white photo, it can be a colorful photo. It would be nice if the photo were to depict you only. From this a special procedure, or using it, is made by a special method of your individual wave. This is a sound file. Or there will be several sound files, WAV, AN or MP3 format. Or a combination of it is typically about an hour of audio. You can listen to these sounds all day, so how can you be in them? Sounds use sounds, just as sounds usually use people, they need to be listened to. More specifically here in this case, the task is to pass these sound waves through your body. They contain quantum physics, biophysical information when an individual matrix is made. And the general matrices have been produced from different biological patterns that can be positive about the human body. How they were created quite specifically, and what patterns they have been specifically created, this is the secret to your company. Do not ask, or if you ask, you will probably not get a specific answer from anyone. These sound matrices have been proven in many cases. For COVID, how to use such a sound matrix, or I wish post-COVID. They smelled that was not there. Smooth smell of tobacco, completely different odors, and these smells were not present in the room. There were different vision problems, they saw darkness. They felt we were absorbed, etc. Similar to these depressed symptoms have been produced. In many cases, post-coviders are trembling, feeling weakness, etc. They were looking for us. And in any case, we said that either the nervous system matrix is used or the nervous system and virus matrix should be used in combination. However, these sound matrices can be used by that they can be listened to all day. But they should not be mixed because the body cannot apply. These matrices are made by default. Now I simply say and simply try to tell them how they created. There was an equipment. For the example of simplicity, let's say there was a roll, for example. A biological pattern was placed on it, otherwise it was made by laser, so it was not made with coils. Matthew, but now let's look at this little thing. A biological pattern has been placed on it, which has a positive effect on your body. A cocktail of this, quantum physics information was stored. Somehow, in some procedure. Quantum physicists will get stuck in this completely because they say that quantum physics is not yet. I have to say that, it is. It has lasted 20 molds years, and that I just apologize to the universities, not to represent the current scientific state. If you are curious about the current state, I could suggest ResearchGate, where you find fresh information for any technology. Different sounds were created. They were somehow processed to be heard to the human ear, and the human body somehow responds to it. I will tell you a secret. Usually the basic tone, the basic sound of the carrier frequency. Sometimes the carrier frequency is tuned over or below a Hertz cell. This is what opens the channels. This is why your body begins to respond to these sound waves. It does not matter the structure of sound waves internally, but let us also look at it now. It should be simple, and I say you just have to listen. You buy, download. You get the files from us, listen, that's all you have to do. And as I said, they should not be mixed, so for 5 days one type should be used, 2 days break. Then it can come in the other kind of extreme case, so where there was unfortunately in a very serious problem. The first multics should be used for an hour or two, just listen. After that, a 6 to 8 hours is born good if you pass. And then you can use the other breed. Look at it like a sound therapy. Like, say, a soundtrack sound therapy. Does anyone have an excuse for soundtrack sound therapy? I think no one. It started from a slightly different kind of approach, made from real biological patterns and stores real quantum physics information. And quantum passes on physical information, and I do not say that it is stored because behind the mechanism of action is extremely complicated. So the sounds have to be listened to in an Alpine, any tool. You usually ask what kind of speaker and speakers I buy. Anyway, the 20-2 10th pound of pounds would be good if he had reached. Otherwise, usually 40-4 whole pounds of sound samples were recorded. If someone listens to this custom matrix or use it, then there would be no more people in the room because it will be impressed. And it is not certain that other people have the same problem. How fast do these matrices work? How fast do drugs work? So you take a medicine, you can say that it will work within 20 minutes, or within half an hour, within 1 hour, within 2 hours, human dependent. Here, too, this is the case, so that there is one who acts in 2 to 3 hours. Some people have 2 or 3 days, someone has 2 or 3 months. We are not talking about those who can represent themselves in this brand and find it in Hungary. Contacts because they have nothing to do with the former company or originally Garyaev. And that's why I don't want to blame them, but unfortunately they don't give you specific information. I think I answered every question how to use the sound matrices on a sound basis, with any player program, any device. And now you understand that the point is not to go through your ears or listen to the body, but to reach the body because it creates changes in the body, not in your ears. Obviously, they noticed that the device was used for a long time. I used to say that twice or 30 minutes should only be used with a device, and the questions were now to be treated now, and if it is covered with water in the ears itself, what do we do with it? Not, let's answer the thing. On the one hand, the coil can handle yourself. So you don't need water. To the solar plexus, in Hungarian to the stomach, the chakra point. Sun-braced chakra point should be placed even more specifically on the coil for general problems. So when you can't localize locally where the problem is, otherwise you don't have to worry about not finding that point. And approximately equilibuses to 50 centimeters of the coil radiation. So let's say you place this small roll around the navel or a little over it. And then you're good. So it will work then. There are people who have a strong how many stimulus? 2 times 30 minutes a day. So, with general problems, 2 times 30 minutes a day. Then why are the matics long on the device and why are the matics long? However, the matics are long with an external connector, so there is a jack connector on the device, you can connect it. You can also listen to the matrices with a speaker. You set the 30 minutes, climb the matrix and start treatment. And then the appliance can be used in water treatment and can be used in combination. You can do it to use the coil to use the device. And you consume treated water and you can listen to the matrix in the meantime. It will certainly be much more efficient than you have chosen only one method. If you can and if you have time. So, in the case of a specific problematic, you have to place where the problem is. Mission mode is a very interesting story. So let's say the matrices are not started very fast. It starts regeneration, self-regeneration. So, for example, a thigh muscle tear heal in a week or 2, it's okay to be able to walk. Doctors think it would take a month or 2. I should have gone to a cure not for me, but to a family member. In the group you will find the description and imagine that you could not raise your handling at all, because you should have gone in an inaction. Unfortunately, he turns to him once or twice a year. And imagine that in 2 days it was well inhabited without having to go to the infection cure, and thank you very much, it's fine. And the eagle pain, the naiad problem, is gone. So you can easily get up from bed. Isolati problems are gone. Lay it on the coil, it can be used locally, smoothly in the mission mode, so when you don't start the other SKS, you have a coil, you will find it if you have a problem, twice or 30 minutes a day. And you don't have to use any more, you shouldn't use more. How does it work anyway? What is the trick? Ai-Xtech the capillaries expand. The bloodstream increases, the oxygen intake increases, and the nutrient flow increases. There is, for example, incompetent or similar problems, then the body can regenerate much faster, the processes are done much faster. And it has an anti-inflammatory effect more specifically to the tender. This is one of the tricks. Another, for example, is bioinformation, which are used by Magic. Here is this tiny bowling, how to use it. It should also be placed there if there is a problem. For example, first organs such as kidney. For example, eyes, let's say it's not so internal. Let's start with the eyes, okay, right side, left only 15 minutes, 15 minutes. Obviously, both of your eyes have no problem, then you do not need to treat both eyes. Sometimes I test questions that I apologize, but I have to say these. And the center of vision processing should also be treated in this case. Because I'm not a doctor, and you are not. Who knows that the vision problem comes from what? Nervous system problem? Vision processing problem? Or does the eye really have any physical problems? Therefore, right side, left side, now the other way around, twice a day. So yes, you need to use a total of 2 hours daily if you want to achieve a vision correction. Visual correction also works in the same way as any other case. The coil exerts its effect by increasing the price of a tiny duplicate. By the way, how do you see this? Well, it's a very simple thing to smoke. For example, try to put the bowl on the lungs after smoking. Otherwise you can try it, play it calmly, try it, how it works, so you don't know damage to it. Do it if you follow twice to 30 minutes daily. After smoking, you place the roll on the lungs. And there is such a blood oxygen meter, what an oximeter is called the stuff. It can be reduced and measure blood oxygen levels. As you stop smoking and place the coil on your own, the blood oxygen levels, i.e. oxygen, start to increase drastically. It is very interestingly physically proven. And then I left the water treatment at the very end. Water treatment can be used with other mouths and water treatment can be used without another custom. You place a glass jar, not plastic, no metal glass on the roll. The bottle is because nothing is dissolved with a good case. You put the glass jar on the roll, say 1.5 liters maximum, 30 minutes you carve the treatment time. And this can be used in MISI mode, so in the basic mode the matrices are not turned on. And in this mode you structure the water with it. If you have a pH measurement and redox measure, so you can measure oxidation levels, you can see that the pH and oxidation levels change in the water. And when you consume this water, you will notice a very interesting thing, so what to do with water and drink. Why is this good? Structured water. You do not use the other sec alone. You only use structured water. Only water. Or actually any water, the water should be clean, so it would be good. What do you use this type of water, what happens to your body? A very interesting thing, because structured water, you are much easier to process your body, cells are much easier to process this type of water than if you only eat water. And the result is that you have more energy. An English story, the person went out to run and said he didn't freeze. Why? He didn't understand. He drank such water and he didn't freeze, because there are more energy left in the body. In the quotation mark, this type of water can be extremely accelerated for heating and regeneration. Well, a simple example. So if you try to let plants with plants, because why not do that? Structure, I can sneak plants with water. You will clearly see that approximate. It accelerates germination by 20 to 30%, accelerates nutrient uptake for the plant because it is much easier to pick up a structure of water from water, or to add the nutrient with water like a conventional tap water, a chlorine water. Otherwise, the Russians say that they make the water alive. This is the kind of structuring. Obviously there are home practices that can also be structured, to treat water, I am perfectly aware of it and they work well. These are measured and more effective procedures than home practices in itself. So it's good that if you were to use a nervous system matrix, or a cardio matrix or possibly a urinary tract, then the water will act accordingly. And don't be surprised. Because obviously anyone who doesn't pay attention would sit there and will have that effect. Simply a reformal spectrum is present when the information is loaded. So then I can talk about how to use this coil, how to use the tiny coil, just like the big roll, the same time, the same power setting. There are 3 types of power settings on the device. There is in animals, children, adults. I think one is the product of which one can be used. Do not use the wavegetical matrices for animals because they have been developed for humans. The genetic stock of humans and animals is different. However, you can also ask for an individual matrix for animals, which has a much lower price than individual, human single-wave genetic matrices. Also find it on the website. This is a little small indicator in the description. You have a single purpose, you place it on the roll and here. Whether Matrix has started or not has a little voice and a little LED. We did not invent this, we have developed it to make it a huge audiophilic experience, but to hear that Matrix works. No problem, if it is cracking, sizzling, if its voice is bad, it is simply the indication, so the display was to display a given state. And it's good to know that in this complex form, as this device looks behind me, so that all the wave genetic clips are included in it. No one else was willing to buy fatigue, time and money, energy. Prepare a device for you, which is complex because it shows beyond that. I will explain to you, believe me, this is only left with us. What is ZenPeak? Where does this name come from? This is a licensed brand name, it licensed on the company, I licensed, in my interpretation, Zen, it is nothing more than a balance. A condition that is, say, is clean, uniform, works well. What is pick? That is something outing, peak, something. Sign, some difference compared to music, but in a positive direction. And ZenPeak comes from that. That our devices are solutions and not only devices in the future, they definitely want to do some positive things. With a little exaggeration, it is not about our part, but for the creator, whatever or anyone. And it was a nice story I just told you, but I could tell you for a long time. The point is, this has to be measured somehow. Because it is in itself that we talk about it, I wish you an apology, they do it on a spiritual show for me. Even more nicer than I did now. But nothing can measure. In fact, of course, there are pendulum measurements, and I'm not saying it's bad, I just say that you should bring things together a little more accurately. And if I had to put it together more accurately, I understood this and the similar tools. This video is not a guide to this. This is a device that can measure the deviation from normal, measures the difference in space-time and/or torsion space. That it measures the difference between the two disks. So, if there is a change in this disk, it measures the difference. Does not measure electrical deviation. And I don't want to talk more about that. That's not what the topic is about. The topic is about guys that Garyaev, even at the beginning of time, about these apes, noticed that there was a little problem. So Garyaev caught a laser, specifically a LG helium neon gas laser. That would be, he made a filter, a cuvette with the biological pattern, and left another cuvette empty, say, filled with sugar solution. And he noticed that he was connected to the laser due to a certain time, so it could be detected in the smooth sugar solution, say, the presence of the basic stones of life. This was completely unimaginable. It is incredible, fantastic, but it has happened. And that started the basics of the Wavegenetics. That's why a speech came. I looked at the story so much, I went to synchronize more videos to you.
Here I introduced the wave genetic technology, which I talked about a lot. I wrote a lot. But there's another technology, MISHIN technology. Here are the MISHIN rolls in front of me. How does it work? What is the base? Technologies. It works on the principle of reading the genetic metabolism of biosystems, and we can generally read the information from any non-biological system that polarizes the light. This means that the specialty and originality of our system lies in synthesizing the quantum of any biologically active substance that synthesizes in our body. Amino acids, lipids, protein, nucleic acids, ribonucleic acids, DNR, anything that is optically active. And almost everything in our body is optically active. This provides a huge opportunity to take advantage of some extent. But there's another technology that is quite effective. This is MISHIN technology. Static electrical fields that have very high biological activity in themselves. In short, the difference between our technology and MISHIN technology is that we give programs, which, for example, is read from organic system or biologically active material, and are used to repeat to quantum sequences and can be applied to patients. For example, the person recovers. And MISHIN's technology has already passed on predefined, selected frequencies to the electric space. The electrostatic field, which also has a repeated biological activity. The idea was to combine these two technologies, each with its own benefits, and have a greater effect. And in the end, it turns out that this is the Garyaev modulator. That's what my employees call it. So called as you want. But here's the modulator. Another information process is the data that is recorded here on your computer in the form of pain. And we will combine these technologies, and we go to the patient, the client who suffers from this or that disease. We select them for such voice programs, combining them with what Miss Hin does. These are coils radiating biologically active fields, electrical and static fields. It turned out that the synthesis of the two technologies is very strong. It goes beyond a lot of things, better than doing it separately. We take the information from a computer, the programs we recorded here in the lab, and copy it to a hard drive, flash drives, on which we get some information about biologically active substances. This is a sound because the sound will be a carrier of spintronic effects. The spintron effect. We have been studied for quite a long time and successfully within the framework of special experimental laboratory procedures. It was used for biochemical processes, not for physical, chemical, but biochemical and genetic processes. In a nutshell, this is what you represent, these two technologies in a complex package. No. Only the secondary electromagnetic radiation form is coherent. And there is a correlation between the spin modulation along the spin and the modulation of electromagnetic vectors in this broadband spectrum. Objects that polarize light record their own information in the spin state of the photons. So you can record information about any object, including DNA. Biological, non-biological, all polarization objects, that is, changing the state of photons and laser spin, is the source of this information. But I try to answer that according to Bohm, any person's photograph of a cosmic universal hologram is entitled. Erwin Bohm expressed the idea that we were all fixed. Everything that exists in this world is fixed in a cosmic hologram. Therefore, every photograph is the title of this hologram, and it is possible to read information about ourselves or any other who uses this photo. This can be. So this is the idea, supplemented with the idea of locality on the quantum. So not only fantasies, it expands that there's a system of coherent quantum nomnocality between the healer, photography, and cosmic map hologram. Here is such a coherent quantum intertwined relationship that works. Wide, band electromagnetic fields that record chemical and other information. And the language of these fields is incomprehensible to us. I think the next centuries will decipher the grammar of this language and synthesize artificial fields.
With this laser, Garyaev made the corrugated matrices. This is the laser. This is a special helium-neum gas laser. Somehow no company, no association, did not deal with the wavelets so deeply. To obtain the devices, make it to you Garyaev capsules, make the wave genetic mats, the wave genetic module that has already been sold hundreds of. And then we solve all the technologies in the same device. This is the NPIC modulator here on the video. The use of the device is extremely easy. A piece of cable is plugged in at the back and the coil can be connected to the cable. A Tesla roll with a pancake style. Tesla coil that actually acts as an antenna. So this is not a conventional electromagnetic coil. The oscilloscope you see here is an analog oscilloscope, which is turned on to see the operation of the wave genetic matrices physically. The upper oscilloscope is a digital oscilloscope. You see a Fourier transformation, and the electromagnetic equivalent of the information coming from the toll. Which, of course, does not stop at the electric evening, the torsion spaces operate behind it. But how does this ZenPeak modulator work and what is special in it? With such a universal tool, you haven't met yet. I'm absolutely sure. The operation is as follows. I turn it off. You can turn on. It's so simple. In this mode, in a mode called machine, it acts as a so-called machine generator. He has extremely interesting and valuable inventions, discoveries. He will obviously not publish information about the modulator. This is not a wave of genetic modulator in itself, so it's just a machine function. This is a self-regeneration function. You can see the right side that, for example, it only produces a software waves, but because of the coil you find here, it starts self-regeneration extremely quickly and is suitable for water treatment. The device is already in this mode. You can set the time with this button called timer. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes and infinite duration. You can set the power level on the right. You saw on the scope that only the amplitude that changes. While adjusting the power level. For water treatment, you can use the appliance so that the coil places a bottle, fill it with water, tap water. Leave it for 30 minutes and set the device for 30 minutes. 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Pidianic, starts, goes 30 minutes, then the device turns off. Of course, the main switch will have to be turned off. The appliance should not be stored in a bathroom and should be stored in a good vent. Here you get the cooling. What does the device do in this form? You can speed up self-regeneration extremely. Fractures, licenses, wounds, injuries heal very quickly. This is created for a torsion radiation and differs from the radiation that is called electromagnetic radiation that a charger, like radiation, starts upwards. So it starts from the center about the center and creates a fungal vortex field. The device contains all the wave genetic matrix. A Garyaev Wavegenetics modulator was around 500,000 forints and 1 million forints. Without any kind of art. The price of a Bell genetic matrix was originally €500. We could sell it at a lower price, around 300 to 400 euros. This price was set like this because we had to pay a license fee. Then it turned out to be completely unlawful, but this is another story, so we can sell these wave genetic matrices at a much lower price. If you count, there are 20-1 matrix in total, so you can say that the device is actually free. But I wouldn't want to jump so much. So here you see that this is just now. The device operates in mission mode or smoothly in an aging mode. Start the features where the matrices can be selected. I press the power button briefly here. Such a play program started. Like if it were an MP3 player. With the stepping buttons you can select the matrices. What are the matrices good for? For 20-1 different categories in the video description, you will find how many minutes and what good matrix is. What is its name, etc. And I could recommend the website to interpret this more accurately. We select any matrix and start the play button. We set up the MPIG modulator as if a Garyaev Wavegenetic modulator were default, so with those power levels. And with that strength, it works with that efficiency by default. However, this device is at least 3 times more efficient. How do we achieve this? So that information can be used to translate strength and resonance levels. By itself, this solution can cause some stimulus in some people, as the role must be placed on solar plexus. So, in the case of general problems, the coil should be placed on solar plexus so that if there are specific problems, then where the problem is, 30 minutes twice a day. If you want to remedy nervous system problems, you will also have 30 minutes every day for cancer. This is a new development, it can be much stronger. I show you how you can be stronger. There are people who are very sensitive to these frequencies. How can we strengthen the efficiency of the machine? By reinforcing the frequencies, or more precisely, the information is reinforced. Pressing the right hand stepping button, a lane appears here on the left. And more such small shortages appear. As we can see, the oscilloscope starts to work completely differently, apparently the device. It has worked so far. It is only according to the ball genetic modulator balls that we have raised the information level many times to make the device even more efficient. Of course, here too, it is valid for 10 minutes, 60 minutes, or infinite. 20-5%, 50%, and 100%. But here the story still doesn't stop. USB input on the left side. The USB input is looking for users to leave what it starts with the device. This is a universal device, not just any MP3 or wave pane can play, modulate it and convert it to bold. So it is possible to start and use any bioregulatory files you are sure you haven't met in the market, because they don't usually trust users what you want to do with the device and how. You can find the jack connector on the right. Even more concentrated, even more efficiently, the Wavegenetic matrices. They also work. But if you use it with the coil and some kind of speaker or headphone, it can be even more effective. Let's look at it. I connected a headphones. This way you can go about the wave of genetic matrices through headphones while the tender and treatment. It's so easy to use the device. Yes. In fact, if you want an individual wavy, it is also available to order an individual wavegenetic matrix, which is made for you, only based on personal information. This Wavegenetic matrix is prepared in about a month and a half. You can also order on the website. ZenPeak Wavegenetics photo-based. The photo is a special and sorry for the expression of quantum hologram, and the information is read from the quantum hologram. This is how the individual wavegenetic miracles are made. If you have more questions about the topic, I can recommend the Facebook group that you find in the description below the website. And you can ask in the Facebook group. Ask you not to ask you by phone, don't ask email, try to describe the question in the group, so if you may know the answer who used to use such a device or solution. Or we do not address the resale of already used devices or the resale of other devices previously sold. Research development is the goal, and such devices and similar solutions can access more people as possible to help as many people as possible. You don't have to wait several months for the arrival of such a device. He's in stock now, and as much as you see on the website. I have to mention another interesting device. This is a torsion field generator. It can provide some protection for you. Maybe there will be developments for this. We do not manufacture these devices at the moment. This device that is here in my hand works very easy. You put it in the wall. What happens? Apart from the light on it when you put it in the wall, it happens to create a torsion field. The torsion field will be the subject of later videos because the video would be too long. The point is to extend a torsion field to full house wear, and thus provides a high degree of protection against various geopathogenic and technopathogenic radiation and possible external attacks. The basis of this technology is secret. I hope you can try this device, or you can buy it, or at least you can access the Wavegenetic files. The price of the device and the matrices should soon be increased significantly, as our costs have increased extremely. Make sure you can buy at a discounted price while it is available. Thank you for watching the video, and remember that you have no such complex technology elsewhere. Those who have summarized real, measurable things in a device and do not try to sell a Chinese trash.